morning, folkers. Good afternoon, wherever you may be. Snapzilla Gorilla, aka The Definition, hitting y'all with another video. Okay? Now, this one is in regards to a video that the Officer Tatum put up yesterday. Okay? Right now it's April 30th, 2020. This video came out yesterday, April 29th, 2020. And, it's in regards to a certain situation involving police officers. So it's going to be a little interesting. So this is basically my response to his commentary on what happened in this situation, and I'm going to go through it and let y'all know what I think about the whole situation and all that other stuff, and what I think of his take. So let's start it off.
This video is brought to you by the Officer Tatum Store. The Officer Tatum Store. Get the merch link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you get notifications anytime I go live.
Can't hate on somebody
video,
for
like this video,
getting that hustle
comment
on
this video, share this video, and let's get into this. So I know a lot of you guys have seen the video circulating around of the police officer on top of what I thought was a little girl, but I guess it was a little 14-year-old boy. Couple strikes, looked like a tussle's going on. People are outraged. They in their feelings, they crying. Police ain't nothing, man. They always doing something to the black man. And y'all know how it goes.
Very interesting when the police commit tyranny and terrorism. This is the typical response from people like him, that instead of thinking of it like this, it's wrong for anybody to put their hands on you when you have done nothing wrong. It doesn't matter what color you are, basically, but we do know, and there is proof that there is a disparity between how white people are treated and black people are treated by the police. And that's just a fact. I've done a presentation on it where I presented evidence. Listen, let's not get into that right now. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go through this. So this is basically the typical response. Whenever somebody's getting tussled up by the police, okay?
Tatum, a former police officer, and people get mad at me.
It's key to remember that he is a former police officer. So we do know that his perception is skewed. He can't remove himself from that mentality. He can't step back and objectively look at a situation because when police are involved. He is incapable of being objective about how police treat people in this country, okay? He thinks they're the greatest heroes in the country. We know that's complete and utter BS. We know that they are some of the biggest criminals in this country. They violate 18 U.S. Code 242 every day when they harass and harangue you for things that, for no crime being committed, okay? So and that's the exact point of this video. This is going to be proof positive that cops are criminals, okay? Let's get into it. Come on, let's keep going.
See through the BS, and I understand that there's more context to these videos than a 30-second clip. There is no way.
Now, I love how people like that say, when they see the police attacking someone, they have dominated the individual physically, right? And they're wailing on people, or they're shooting people in the back, or they're shooting people in the back of the head, or they're strangling people. When the person that they're attacking can't even get, there's no chance that they would have any type of physical dominance over the police officer. The police officer has a weapon, several weapons, and he has a bulletproof vest. Listen, let's get into this. Context.
You can get any foundational understanding and can make any legitimate conclusion with only 30 seconds to an incident. It's almost impossible. Even if the officer ain't right, it's still more to it that can make them even wronger.
Look, you see that? Even if the officer isn't right, there's still more to it. So if the officer does a horrible thing to a person, it doesn't matter, because there has to be context. There has to be a reason that this police officer flew off the handle and acted unprofessionally and acted like a fucking terrorist. There has to be. No officer can be bad. No officer can be devious and malicious. No, they always have to be provoked. Officers wouldn't do anything wrong to you if they weren't provoked. Don't provoke the police. Comply. Do what you're told. Comply or die, right? That's what they say. So let's get into this.
I don't even know if that's a word, but let's keep going with this. So everybody's mad. They're outraged. When I saw the video, initially I was like, oh man, hold on. But then I realized that it wasn't even hitting him in the face. It was hitting him in the chest. So then I realized, well, the officer is showing some type of...
Does it matter where you being hit? Does it matter where the officer is hitting the individual? The free individual, a child? Does it matter where they're hitting them? The fact that they're hitting the kid in the first place, the fact that the police officer is hitting anybody in the first place that hasn't hit them is a problem. It doesn't matter where they're hitting you. And you can hit somebody in the chest and cause problems. You're talking about a 14-year-old child, a scrawny 14-year-old child, and a big-ass, grown-ass man sitting on top of him, wailing on his chest. I mean, that can cause some type of damage. I mean, it doesn't matter where you're hitting somebody. The fact that you're putting your hands on a person that has not done anything to you, that has not harmed another person themselves, that's the problem. That's what these people don't understand. Oh, don't resist. Oh, let the cops do what they want to you. Nah, fuck that. It doesn't work like that. And it shouldn't work like that. And this whole paradigm needs to change. This whole regime where the police officers have qualified immunity and they can do whatever the fuck they want to you under suspicion, under the color of law. No, we have to knock that off. We have to stop that. We need to implement 18 U.S. Code 242, and we need to make sure that that's enforced. Because I don't care what that individual did. If they didn't harm another person, if they didn't steal someone's property, if they didn't damage someone's property, if they didn't violate someone else's rights, you have no right to violate them, period. And that's how it's got to be. Let's keep going.
How did all this start? So I'm going to give you the quick synopsis of how all this started, what happened, and I'm going to show you the video of the boy apologizing. Apologizing for somewhat of his responsibility in this incident. Now, people don't know this, but the cop caught him doing the hand-to-hand.
Now, I'm thinking, it's a teenage kid, you know what I'm saying? And he probably did some reckless stuff. Maybe he harassed somebody. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he stole something from somebody. Maybe he snatched somebody's purse. I don't know. I'm thinking that he might have committed a crime based on the way that he set this whole thing up. But let's see what the kid actually did to have this police officer fucking with him and hitting him in the chest.
Now, to the cop, it appeared that it was well, first of all, it's illegal anyway. It ended up being tobacco, not marijuana. But it appeared potentially, based on what the police observed, that this kid was doing a transaction with marijuana. Then
what was it? What was it? A hand-to-hand of tobacco. That's what the kid actually did. But it appeared to the police officer that they were doing a hand-to-hand transaction with marijuana. Oh, glory be. Oh no, what a horrible act. Oh man, why stop at hitting him in the chest? Why not wring his fucking neck? Why not choke slam him? Why not, why not elbow him in the tooth? Why not drag him by his feet and shake his ass, make all his motherfucking money and tobacco spill out? Why not kick him in the head? Why not throw him over a bridge? The kid. Let's talk about what a hand-to-hand transaction is. A hand-to-hand transaction is a voluntary transaction. You understand? Voluntary, meaning that both parties or all the parties involved with this transaction wanted this transaction to occur. They were minding their own business. One guy sold something to the other guy. Voluntarily. No one forced anybody to participate in this transaction. It's called the free market. It's called, I don't care how old the kid is. I don't care. I don't care how old this kid is. He had a hand-to-hand transaction, a voluntary transaction with another person, didn't do no harm to anybody. But yet, here you got this police officer. Let him finish. Let him tell it.
Him, asked him for basic information. He refused. So the officer was going to put him in cuffs. I don't know if he was detaining him or...
Now, the officer asked for information from the kid. The kid refused. That's his right. That's his right. It's called the Fourth Amendment. You have the right to be secure in your personal papers, properties, and effects. And there's due process and all this other stuff. Under what reason? Why did he even approach a kid in the first place? You saw somebody hand something to somebody. That doesn't mean that you have the right to approach them, harass them, and accost them. Okay, I don't care what they were handing off to each other. You don't know how old this kid is. He could have been a pygmy. I don't know. You don't know anything about these individuals, yet you're approaching them when they're minding their own business, committing a transaction with each other. It doesn't matter what they're doing. But he's justifying it by saying that he thought it was marijuana. It doesn't matter what it is. And we're going to get into what state this is. And we're going to get into why this whole thing is absurd. And you can tell he's skipping out on information. Because no police officer has the right to come up to you and ask for your information because he saw you handing something to somebody. You understand what I'm saying? That's why the way that police culture in this country is horrible. And it needs to change. It's terrorism. It's basically what it is. Terrorism and harassment. Getting all up in people's shit when nothing is your business. Leave people alone. Okay? There's no reason this officer should approach this kid about anything. No. And then he refuses to give you information. So what? He doesn't have to give you shit. You don't have a warrant. He doesn't have to. What? Are you arresting him? Well, apparently, yeah, you're gonna arrest him because he didn't tell you what you wanted, what you wanted him to tell you, on some punk shit. That's punk shit. Oh, you're not gonna tell me what I want you. Well, I'm gonna handcuff you. It's bullshit. That kid had every right to mind his own business and commit that transaction. I don't care how old he was. He's out on his own. He's 14 years old. You don't know how old he is when you're approaching him. You just know that he's interacted with somebody. Man, miss me.
Point. But he's getting ready to put him in the cuffs. Either way it go, the officer has every right to detain you and use force to do so.
Did you hear what he just said? Did you hear what he just said? Officers have every right to detain you and use force to do so. Yet, this cat claims to be a freedom lover. This cat claims to love liberty. He claims to be someone who is about freedom. He's not. Okay? He's not. Clearly, the officer has the right to detain and use force to do so. No, they don't. They don't have the right to do anything. They don't have the right to use force against you when you haven't done anything. You haven't used force against anybody else. This kid obviously did not use force against the person that he was transacting with. So it's not. No, you don't have the right. No. And this is what I'm talking. This is why I tell people this guy is not a freedom lover. You understand what I'm saying? He's a former police officer with a statist mindset, and he still has that police officer mentality. So, if you expect a cat like him to lead you toward freedom, you're sadly mistaken. Because he wants to free you from liberals. Okay, he wants to free you from the Democrats and have you come over to the other side of the state. You know what I'm saying? Either way, one side of the state, the other side of the state, it's still statism. Man, miss me with this BS.
Kid in the cuffs, the kid say he pulled away. And
the kid pulled away because you're invading his space and putting your hands on him? You're attacking this kid. You expect him to stand there? Who do you think you are? Who do police officers really think that they have special rights and special abilities that they can do whatever they want to somebody else and not have anything happen? Not encounter any resistance? If you try to put your hands on me, And I didn't do anything wrong because this kid did nothing wrong. I don't care if it was tobacco, crack, heroin. The kid did nothing wrong. If you put your hands on him, and it was just tobacco, and if you put your hands on this kid, he has every right to not want you to do so, to pull away. What are you talking about, dude? Man, the slave mentality. Look at this guy. This guy has all these followers. He has such a huge voice. He has so much influence. And this is what he's drilling into people's minds. He wants you to submit to the police state. He wants a police state. He complains about the lockdown, right? All day, every day. But yet and still, he'll sit up here and tell you to submit to the police. And I was going to do a video where he was talking about this woman in the park. Her kid was playing on the playground, right, during the quarantine times. And the officer's harassing her because her kid's playing on the playground. Yet he's like 2-3 feet away from her daughter, violating the social distancing orders, you know. And he's, you know, kind of, the woman is white. Okay, so, you know, obviously he has affinity toward white people. You know, he in my mind, okay. Now this, I'm not pulling no race card. What I'm saying is, he has a different tune and a different tone when it comes to how white people are approached by the police as opposed to black people. And this is what I've seen in a couple of videos. This video and the video with the white woman, you know, he kind of like was on the fence, trying to justify the police officer following unlawful orders. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, anyway, this is not about race. What this is about is the police violating people's rights. And they do it all day, every day. And this guy justifies it. He wants you to comply. He wants you to submit to the police. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter what you did to get approached by the police. If the police approach you, they have the right to detain and physically force you to submit. Let's keep going.
Handcuffs during the detention or arrest, whichever one he was doing. And while they're on the ground, they started filming. And you can see him on the ground trying to get his hands behind his.
See, he skipped information. How did the kid end up on the ground? How did they end up on the ground? Did the kid take the police officer to the ground? No. The police officer took the kid to the ground, further violating this kid's rights, further breaking U.S. 18 U.S. Code 242, violating that, committing a horrible crime, violating someone's rights under the color of law. Okay? Never mind all that, right, Brandon? Never mind that all that happened for a little bit of tobacco. Man.
Still resisting. And at some point, the cop had to soften him up a little bit, hit him in this area right here, to end up getting control while he wait for his backup. You ask me, I have no problem with that. But
of course you don't have a problem with it, because you are a law enforcer. You are a tyrant law enforcer. Of course you ain't got a problem with it, because you can't look at things objectively, because you're a police officer. They're your brothers in arms, right? The thin blue line. What they say goes. Qualified immunity. They have the right to detain you and use force to do so. Man, miss me. Man, this guy right here, not a freedom lover. Okay? Not a freedom. If it was up to him, you know, the police would be on every corner and in front of every door, keeping your ass in line. Believe that to retrieve that. As long as he's able to go outside and do what he wants to do. Because guess what? He's not a police officer anymore, but if he did have a police officer in front of his doorstep, hey, man, you know, I love you guys, man. I used to be a cop. Let me do what I want to do. Man.
Young boy said, I want you to hear how they reported on the news because I think they did a fair job. Roll the film.
Elijah says trouble began after he asked a stranger to purchase some tobacco for him after getting it in his...
He asked a stranger. Okay, the kids do that all the time. When I was a kid, I used to have grown-ass men or women go in there, but give me some liquor, give me a pack of cigarettes. I started smoking when I was 16 years old. And if that adult, because I was out on the street, I got kicked out, and then I started smoking when Tupac died. I was really upset. Anyway, I would have people buy me cigarettes all the time. You know, I didn't harm anybody. I was getting cigarettes to harm my own self. I fucked my lungs up at that time smoking cigarettes. I was doing that to myself. You know what I mean? I was on my own. I consider come on, man. Listen, you know, I was dumb. You know, if I can go back, if I had the mentality I had then, I wouldn't have done that. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. This kid did the same thing. A voluntary transaction. He asked an adult to get him some cigarettes. The adult got him some cigarettes. I mean, you know, it may be wrong to do that. It may be wrong to encourage and to encourage that behavior on a child by actually doing what that child wants by giving him cigarettes that can harm him, but yet and still, you know, it doesn't deserve all this. All this, you know.
That's when the cop pulled up, and he asked me what was that in my hand, and I had gave him. As soon as he asked me that, I just.
Well, it's none of his business. It's none of that cop's. That cop is not your parent. You understand what I'm saying? This kid now, the Officer Tatum feels justified in the way he approached this whole video because his kid is apologizing. His kid is being forced to apologize. I can guarantee you that. But like he said, as soon as the officer asked him what that was, he gave it to him. Okay. You know, the officer shouldn't have approached him in the first place, getting all up in his business. But then when he gives you what you asked him about, leave him the fuck alone. Why are you still messing with this kid? Why do you need his information? Take the tobacco and keep it pushing. Or leave him alone in the first place. You see what I'm saying? So all this stuff right here, everything that happened was the fault of that police officer. I don't care what this kid did. This kid did nothing wrong to anybody else. The adult shouldn't have gave him no cigarettes. But, yet and still, voluntary transaction. And it's not the adult that's on the ground getting punched in the chest.
He says the officer became confrontational, despite him handing over the tobacco right away. And out of fear, Elijah wasn't truthful with the officer.
I did lie to him.
Look at this.
And I didn't cooperate. And I know that. And I made that mistake.
Sacramento County Sheriff's Office
He lied
responded
to him.
to this incident, saying in part, it's important to put video footage.
And I didn't cooperate. And I know that. And I made that mistake.
Sacramento County Sheriff's Office responded to this incident, saying in part,
Sacramento. So let's get into this. Let's get into this real quick. The officer thought it was marijuana, right? Ended up being tobacco. Marijuana is legal in California recreationally. So why are you harassing this kid over a legal substance? Even if he's a kid, you don't know if he's a kid. He could be just a very young-looking adult man, or whatever. Weed is legal in California, point blank and period. So why are you screwing with these people when they're doing a hand-to-hand transaction over some legal shit? Someone please explain it to me, because I don't understand it. And the Officer Tatum, Brandon Tatum, man, how can you justify this? Weed is legal in California. That cop should never approach that kid or that adult. Nonsense.
to put video footage into context, especially in relation to a use of force incident. When the deputy approached the juvenile was uncooperative and refused to give the deputy basic identifying information.
Oh man, see they think police officers are the masters of the street, and they essentially are. They're the slave drivers on the street, keeping your ass in line. I don't have to give you information based on your little suspicions. I don't care. I'm not doing anything wrong to anybody. You have no right to come up to me and ask me for my information. I ain't got to give it to you. And this kid ain't got to give it to you. And that's pretty much the point of me making this video. This should never have happened. Look at this punk. Look at that punk sitting on top of that kid like that. Never should have happened.
Elijah says the officer then tried to put handcuffs on him without telling him why.
So when he did that, I pulled my right hand back, and then that's when he started getting aggressive and trying to fight.
The department says...
So why is he apologizing? Huh? Why is he apologizing? Why is the kid apologizing when this officer accosted this kid and got physical with him in the first place? Because he pulled his hand away? Yeah, he don't want to be locked up. He don't want his hands restrained. What is this nonsense? I'm telling you, the police culture needs to change. It needs to end. We don't need the police. We need to police ourselves. We don't need law enforcers. We need community camaraderie. We need to build a community. We need to police our own community. We need to make sure that we're doing the right thing by our community. We don't need the police coming in, giving all this power, giving qualified immunity, giving special rights. We don't need all that. That officer should be locked up. Point blank and period. He kidnapped that kid in under 18 U.S. Code 242. He can serve a life sentence for that. Under the color of law. A law that this kid committed no crime.
Physically resistive at the time, causing the deputy to lose control of his handcuffs. The deputy attempted to maintain control of the juvenile without his handcuffs and while alone waiting for his partners to arrive and assist him. Elijah says he was eventually cuffed and placed in the back of a patrol.
Oh, I need assistance with this little scrawny 14-year-old kid. Please come help me. Oh, I need backup. Oh, it's so dangerous. Oh my God, I'm scared. What punks. Police officers are punks. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. And for the police officers that aren't punks, what are you doing about the police officers that are punks? This is why I hate the there's good cops out there argument. Okay, if there's good cops out there, then why are there so many bad cops? Why aren't the good cops doing something about the bad cops? No, there's bad cops and there's indifferent cops. Bad, indifferent. There are no good cops because they go along to get along. They toe the thin blue line. There are no such thing as good cops. Show me one. Show me a good cop. Good cops get fired. Good cops get murdered. Good cops get set up. No, good cops do not exist unless they are former cops.
For ultimately being cited.
Sir, I'm sorry for the way that I acted towards you and for not cooperating. And I just hope we could meet again and be on better terms.
Wow. That's some shameful shit. And the Officer Tatum should be ashamed of the way that, I feel so good the kid apologized. Yeah, I can talk about it now.
At least he did something, because a lot of these kids don't take no responsibility for their actions. And I don't want to hear the family saying, oh, we were so traumatized at what happened to us. Look, why is your 14-year-old...
Listen. What about the responsibility of the police officer? Is the police officer not responsible for any wrongdoing here? It's just the kid, the 14-year-old kid that's acting like a 14-year-old kid? Or is it the officer responsibility who's probably looks like he's about 60 years old, acting like a 14-year-old kid? Oh, you don't want to get handcuffed? Oh, I'm going to throw you to the ground and punch you. Oh my God, you're so dangerous. I need my backup. Man, fuck out of here. Listen, man. Let's get in. Come on. It would be traumatized. You know why it would be traumatized to me? If my 14-year-old kid was treated like that by a police officer. You know why it would be traumatizing me? Because I wasn't there to whoop that police officer's ass. I wasn't there to stop him. I wasn't there to knock his monkey ass out. That's why I would be traumatized.
Cigarettes or tobacco. He's 14. He's not even 16. He's not even 17.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why. Listen. You can't keep tabs on your kid 24/7. Okay? They have to leave the house to do things, right? They have to go do things. You don't have control of your children at that age 24/7. And if your kid goes to school, there are other influences in that child's life. It's called socialization. You are not the only person that is involved with socializing a child. Okay? You got school, you got teachers, you have many other influences in that child's life. You got other kids. You can only do so much when your kid is out in the world and you're not there. My parents weren't the best parents, but they didn't encourage me to do bad shit. I just did bad shit because they weren't around all the time. And that's what I wanted to do as a kid. I pushed the limits. I tested my limits. I pushed the envelope. I wanted to see what I can get away with. 14, 13, 16 years old. That's what kids do. That's what kids do. But all he did was buy some tobacco. Yes, it's harmful to the kid. But he bought tobacco in a voluntary transaction. What are you talking about? The parents, listen, there's no such thing as a perfect parent, and you're not going to stop your kid from doing everything that they want to do. You can't. It's impossible. Unless you're in their presence 24/7. And this is why I homeschool my kids. Because I have a lot more control over what happens and how my children are raised up than the school system. But yet and still, when my kids start reaching teenage years, they're going to want to do things on their own. I can't keep them cooped up in the house all the time. Even now, we have to let them go hang out with other kids. We have to let them go with their grandparents. We have to let them go with their uncles and aunties. And we're not going to be around all the time. Excuse me. That's what it is. Children are children.
He's maybe 18 and he's buying tobacco from people. You should be more concerned.
You buy the tobacco from someone, that's why you deserve to be thrown to the ground, manhandled by a big fat ass police officer, and pummeled in the chest. What I don't understand what the connection here. I don't understand the connection. That's just like people saying when teenagers don't follow social distancing guidelines, they're putting their grandparents at risk. How is that? No. What happens? What you do is, if your grandparents don't want to be put at risk, then you stay away from your grandkids. That's how you do that. You isolate yourself from your children and from your grandchildren because you're at risk. If you're that fearful of the virus, you just stay away from them. You know, you don't. It's not an automatic death sentence for your grandparents if you get closer than 6 feet to another person. No. Nonsense.
Child is doing when you ain't around than him getting in trouble. Because if you was doing what you're supposed to be doing, or you critiqued what he's doing or kept an eye on what he's doing, held him accountable, which I think that they probably are at this point, then you don't have to worry about him getting in the confrontation.
I don't think he had children. Let me tell you something, man. You can't control your child once they start reading that. You can't control them 100%. And if you don't know they're out there buying tobacco, how are you going to critique it? If you don't know they're doing the things that they're doing, the bad things that they're doing, how are you going to critique it if you don't know that they're doing it? The parents probably don't even know they're doing it. 90% of the shit that I did when I was a kid, 90% of the bad shit I did, my parents don't know jack shit about it. So how are they going to control? How are they going to chastise me and reprimand me and punish me for it if they don't know I'm doing it? Kids can be sneaky, man. I need common sense to enter your brain, bro.
And I'm gonna say this, and I ain't gotta spend too much time on this video. Do what's right the first time, and you don't have to worry about resisting arrest and all the stuff that comes with it. Thank God this officer was striking him in the chest and wasn't getting him in the face. Because I'll tell y'all this, it really doesn't matter what the officer do. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. And if you done lost your life, and the officer is, I don't know, guilty or not guilty, prosecuted or not, your life's still gone. Is it worth it?
So, I want you to understand what this guy just did here. He says that if you don't comply with the police, right or wrong, whether the police officer is right or wrong, he don't care what the police officer did. If you don't comply with the police officer, and you end up dying because of it, then it's your fault. Because you decided that you didn't want to comply to a terrorist, right? Doesn't matter what, like you said, doesn't matter what the police officer did. Doesn't matter if the police officer right or wrong. Because he's a police officer, he can do what he wants, and it doesn't matter. If you cause that police officer to kill you because you didn't comply exactly with what he wanted you to do, then it's your fault. I want y'all to take that in. Even you Brandon Tatum supporters, I want you to understand what he just said. It doesn't matter. If you die at the hands of a police officer, then you're just dead. So you should just do whatever the police want. Right, wrong, and different. It doesn't matter, right? Because they're police officers, they have qualified immunity, and they have special abilities and powers and special rights to do whatever the fuck they want because they put on the badge and the uniform. Pay attention to what he's saying, y'all.
Just take it as a part of the game. You caught.
Part of the game. Part of the game. You die at the hands of the police officer. The police officer murdered you, whether he's prosecuted or not, whether he's charged or not. That's part of the game of not doing exactly what you're told, not acting like a slave, and complying to a police officer when you have done nothing wrong. When they're hurting you, when they're coming up to you for no goddamn reason other than to exercise their power.
Do your little time, get your little lawyer, whatever you got to do, but don't be resisting arrest on the side of the road. Curbside justice, it doesn't work. You will lose every time. And that's my personal experience, because every time somebody wanted to do courtside justice with B. Tatum, they lost miserably. Now, it ain't about me. I want to know what you think. Write a comment in the comment section.
Now, oh man. You see this guy here? He just told you. He just admitted to his own tyranny. I can guarantee you this guy roughed some people up when he got his emotions, because guess what? I have the power. Oh, you don't want to follow my instructions? Oh, you don't want to comply to me? Oh, well, you know, I'm going to create a victim out of you. I'm going to harm you because you didn't do exactly what I wanted you to do. Or I felt a little resistance. Never mind that it's a natural instinct for when somebody else grabs and attacks you and tries to physically manhandle you, that you put up a fight. Never mind that. No, I'm a police officer. It doesn't matter.
I'm tripping. Am I on to something? Was the cop wrong? Was the kid wrong?
No, you tripping. The police officer was wrong. The kid wasn't wrong. If anything, the adult that gave him the tobacco was a little bit wrong. But again, it was a voluntary transaction. He shouldn't have did it. I wouldn't have done it. But I'm not gonna. I ain't gonna buy no kids no tobacco. Not no 14-year-old kid. If you had to ask me to buy you tobacco, you know, I'm just not gonna do it. That's just me. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, punk shit. Period. I mean, that's all it is to it. This is punk shit. And if Brandon Tatum was one of those cats that felt justified in attacking people and physically harming people because they were under suspicion and they didn't want to comply with him, even though they didn't do anything wrong to anybody else, he didn't witness any wrongdoing. He didn't witness any crime. Neither did that police officer. He witnessed no crime. Yet, you still feel the need and justified to rough someone up because they didn't want to give you some information. That's punk shit. Point blank, period. And it, you know, there is don't feel big and bad because you beat a lot of people up as a police officer. There is this underlying notion that, you know, some people, they might not have wanted to put their hands on you like that because you are a police officer, and that just makes it 10 times worse in the court. So don't act like you the baddest man on the planet because you knock some people around as a police officer. Okay, you know, with your vest on and your gun. You know, there's going to be an underlying caution, as opposed to someone didn't have a badge on. If we saw you in the street and you were in your street clothes, probably be a little different. So it is what it is. You know, don't get that mentality, because everybody can get beat. Everybody. Anyway, that's all I got on that. Went a little longer than I thought it was going to go, but it is what it is. That's my breakdown of this video. This is my response. And y'all let me know what y'all think. Am I tripping? Was the police officer right? Was the police officer justified in attacking that kid, put the kid in the chest, and approaching him in the first place? Should we just comply with everything a police officer says, no matter what? Or do y'all think that we need to change the whole paradigm in terms of policing? Should it completely change? Should it be more competitive? Should we be able to hire private police forces if we feel the need to? Or should we just police our own communities? You know, able-bodied individuals in their own communities, policing their communities and getting broke off by the people in their communities that want them there. Or a private police force where there's competition, where you know that if you don't provide great service, you can get fired or you can get replaced. Or should it be like it is right now, where it's state police, municipal police, county police, there is no competition. They can do whatever the hell they want. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Me, punk shit. Point blank and period. So anyway, you put that badge on, put that gun on, and you think you're big and bad, you really ain't. So anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. And yeah, I'll holler at y'all later.